Greetings, this is TimeRider. The Ford Zodiac was a luxury version of the Ford Zephyr produced by Ford of Britain from 1950 until 1972. The Zodiac sported a different grille and a more elaborate tail end styling than those lesser variants. The car had a top speed of around 90 miles per hour and went from 0 to 60 in a blistering 17 seconds. It was available as a sedan, a wagon, and a convertible. It was produced from 1956 to early 1962. It was the only soft-top convertible offered by Ford at the time, and there was very little competition in its market segment. While I would suspect that Lesney added the little wing windows to shore up the windscreen frame, this one was still cracked. It was also missing the driver, which is pretty common among the castings that had one. I think convertibles as a child's toy are probably a bad idea on principle, so I'm surprised it's there at all. And I kind of shudder to think of the potential journey the driver might have taken. The model, of course, the toy, was held together with a single rolled over rivet in the back and a tab in the front. And as you can see, the interior and the base are pretty much one and the same, and then the casting, of course, separate. Clean up the post a little bit here. I always do that. Those of you who watch me know that, because I want it to go together really easily. You know, according to Falkensteiner's Variation Guide, Lesney produced this toy from 1957 to 1960. But they continued to produce boxes until 61, so they must have continued selling existing stock. It was cast in 1/71st scale, so not quite 1/64th. A little bit of oil there to help tap that hole. Now, I know based on the wheel and axle configurations that this particular casting was produced in 1959, just like me. Wheel and tire configurations can be a great way to date a casting. Of course, it depends on how accurate your variation guide is, so I'm basing this again on Falkensteiner's. I need to get the wheels off because, of course, I'm going to have to, since the base and the interior are one and the same, I'm going to have to paint it. I mean, I didn't think the paint on the bottom looked that bad, but that's fine. I'll take it apart. You know, one of the oddities of this casting is that it's a four-door convertible, and I don't know that any such thing actually exists in reality. I figured that Lesney just took the 33A Zodiac sedan and used that as a platform to produce this casting to save some money. Shake for luck. I don't want to miss that. Paint came off real easy and fairly completely, so, you know, cleaning it with a wire brush is, you know, that first step that I always take. This casting, by the way, came from my benefactor in Florida. He sent me a bunch of A castings, and I like doing them because they're really unique, and that was really great of him to send those to me. And here you go. Thing just goes together like nobody's business. It's nice and clean. You know, I always steel wool everything before I paint, just to make sure I got as good a finish as I can get. And, you know, since this is a restoration, I'm not going to be filing off casting lines or anything. I never do. I know some people do. I get people who say to me all the time that I should, but I also have had people tell me that I actually don't restore anything because, you know, once I split it and put primer paint on it, it's no longer a restoration. And I guess that really just depends on what your definition of restoration is. That actual piece of the windshield frame, it did break off. It was just barely on there. I'm glad it made it through the stripper, though, because I would have hated to have tried to fish it out of the stripper. So I was able to capture it. It didn't go flying across the room or anything, so I can glue it back in place here with some Gorilla brand super glue. I gotta be honest, I like the Loctite better. This isn't bad, don't get me wrong. It's a fine product. I like the Loctite a little bit better. This seems like it's got a little more gel to it. So, little baking soda on there, and to give it some substance. And then I let it cure for actually a couple of days. And so it got good and hard. And went after it a little bit with a file, smooth it out. The casting, it's pretty rough to begin with, especially around the window. I don't know if you could see that, but it is. It's a really rough window opening. Some of the older castings are like that, though, where they have, I just did that Dunlop van, and the back doors on that were just horrible. So I had painted it with white primer. And then I mixed up my version of peachy pink, or whatever you want to call it. The original was really dirty. And so I actually went on the internet and found out that they painted this thing about 1,000 different colors. Brown is the one you're looking for if you're a collector. And I don't know if it was just so much different paint, but Google it sometime, number 39A, and go look at the images. My God, there are so many different variants of this. So I had painted my little guy, and you can see him over there kind of up at the top edge of the screen, and I thought he was too brown. So I mixed up a mustardy looking brown, which is what it looked to be to me. And then the base is just kind of a turquoise, for lack of a better term, sea green, blue green, call it what you want. According to my observations, everything gets painted. The grille, the headlights, the bumpers, even the taillights. It's kind of a neat looking little casting. Another iconic car with, like I would call them very European styling features. I mean, they were in love with chrome as much as we were here in the United States. And I just used a Sharpie to color in the taillights. It's really the way to go. So anyway, let's go back to where I started with this whole thing. And, if you look at, you can see what I mean. The paint just looks dirty. I mean, that's not a bright color. And all the photos I found were bright colors. But driver's missing. Crack in the windshield frame. Looks like it's been played with, probably loved. So anyway, let's take a look at where I wound up. So anyway, here it is, the Matchbox number 39A Ford Zodiac Mark II. I put the axles back together with a hammer, and I thought I had some footage of it because it's so rare for me to do it. But the circumstances were such that I was comfortable doing it. I'm very happy with how this turned out, though. It's got the right shine to it, and yeah. I'll be happy to put it on the shelf. So stick around for an episode of The Bench if you like that kind of thing. If not, click the thumbs up or the thumbs down. If you don't like it, share, whatever you got to do. This is TimeRider, and I'll leave the light on for you. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around for this episode of The Bench. Well, what's been going on my bench? Well, one thing is, I don't know if you guys remember, but I moved out into the sticks, and I don't know if you know it, but I haven't had broadcast television since December. And my beloved Vikings are playing their first preseason game tonight. And so this week I spent some time becoming acquainted with installing a roof antenna on my new home, and you'll be happy to know that it works great, and I'm looking forward to watching football this fall. Now it's time for a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Next Saturday, the 17th, the Three Blind Mice are putting out another build. This one's going to be 41C 4 GT40s, and I'm really curious to see what my partners have come up with. I don't know what to tell you about mine other than it's a secret. Now that I live out in the sticks, I don't see a lot of my old friends, but my friend Mike, who is my very first subscriber on this channel, asked me a while back to try to recreate an older 72 Plymouth that his grandmother owned. And I haven't seen Mike in a while, but man, I tell you, I'm smelling chicken wings, which means I'm probably going to be seeing him soon. So I figured I better get his car going again, and I put a vinyl roof on it yesterday. Now, if you've ever tried to paint orange peel on purpose, good luck to you. And then everybody seems to be pretty interested in this Mustang that I'm doing, so I had used Milliput to try to block off that hole on the side, and it just turned out to be too thin. So this is epoxy resin, which is curing right now, and I'll get back at it and hopefully get that hole filled up and you won't even know it was there. And then since I did a couple of restorations this week, I'm going to start a couple of new ones in the form of this number 50 kennel truck and the number 20 Chevrolet Impala taxi. So I'm going to part real quick, everybody. My beloved Vikings, I'm going to part with a Vikings joke. When I die, I want to have 6 Vikings as pallbearers so they can let me down just one more time. This is TimeRider. I hope everybody has a great weekend.